everyone. This is Rohan Kaul once again from Zavops, and I am here today again with one of our guests for our video series, which is MarTech 2025, where we are covering MarTech stacks for different industries that we are envisioning for 2025. And today we have a very interesting gentleman, purely for the reason that this is for the first time in our series. We have a pure technologist who's going to give his inputs on the MarTech. But still now, the people that we've interviewed mostly have been from the marketing background, who've been on digital and strategy, more on the functional side. So this will be very interesting. I mean, I would personally say I'm going to be picking his brains a lot for things because this is my first time interaction with a pure technologist on the MarTech side of things. Just to give you a brief background, Niranjan is a senior technical senior technical architect with a company called UpSkillist, which is an edtech based out of Dublin, and he's an alumnus of National Institute of Technology, Trichy, which is one of the most prestigious institutes in India. And similar to me, he's done his computer applications. He has a computer applications background, and now he's working on technology infused with marketing. So this is going to be a really, really interesting conversation, at least I can say for me. So Niranjan, welcome to the show. How are you today?
Thank you for having me here, Rohan.
Yes. So Niranjan, your experience, I mean, I have a background where I actually started coding and I was not interested in it. From where I took a career, pivot to sales, and from sales I moved into performance and digital marketing side of things. Tell me how is your? I mean, I know you are a technical architect where it is more to do with the technology side of things, like pure from a MarTech integration point of view. So tell me, what's your tryst with MarTech? I mean, in terms of, is it on the product development side? What exactly that you do on the MarTech things?
So I'll probably set the context from the very beginning of my career. It's almost 20 years of industry experience. I think the first, I would say, 10 years were very different from the next 10 years. I think the first 10 years were like a regular engineer who was coding products, B2B and C based. And I think what changed was I did a startup in around 2012-13 time frame, which got acquired by Common Floor. And I think post that, I think my next 10 years were very different because I was able to kind of work with different divisions in Common Floor. So right from operations, marketing, sales, post-sales, all that stuff, right? And that gave me a very totally different perspective of the whole journey of products. So before that, it was purely coding and just shipping stuff out, right? I did not really know about how it was perceived by customers and how the sales happened, and all that journey was missing from my life. I think post that, I think the next 2 years were very interesting. We were building stuff for Common Floor. And then I joined this edtech company called UpSkillist, which was previously Shaw Academy. And here, I think my engineering head thought that I had more business understanding than a typical average techie. And hence, I was more pushed towards what just involved marketing interaction, sales team interaction. And hence, I was setting up like marketing pixels, Google Analytics, CRM, migration, even automation tools like WebEngage and other stuff. And that, I think, led me to what now I know is called markups. I did not know the term back then. I think the more I'm knowing about stuff, I think there's a term for everything I did. I think I did everything ops in the last 6 years. I think be it markups, RevOps, data ops. I think there's a term for every single thing I did. I think I probably did 10 things, which typically is done by 10 different people. I think I was lucky to kind of get a chance to do all that, and it was very interesting to know how different functions operate together, and then how things what marketing does can influence what sales does, and kind of how things flow between teams. and how all of that put together makes a good, successful product. And that is how I think I got into the, I would say, tech operation.
All right, interesting. So it seems it's a journey from DevOps to MOps to RevOps, all of it.
Yeah.
Okay. How is it like working with marketing people as compared to, product coding? I would like to get a perspective.
I think marketing teams are typically easier to handle because I think their goals are much simpler. Not that their job is simple, but at least their roles are simple because they have to get the part in front of people. They just have to figure out which kind of tool makes it easier or better to reach. Sometimes it's offline marketing, sometimes it is on the road marketing, sometimes it's online digital marketing. You just have to figure out which stream works for you. But at least your goals are known. You have to get in front of people and get them to try your product. That is where the journey ends and starts and ends. And hence it is, and they have very simpler stack in terms of execution, right? Sales team is much more challenging because I think theirs is a journey where they have a lot of leads and they have to figure the whole buying journey and what kind of things tilt towards purchase decisions. They are more nuanced and more complex journeys, and hence their life is a bit more harder than marketing. And for that reason, they are also more pushy and more chasing because they have a dollar hanging on their head, right? And they have to make money end of the day. I think marketing is like, okay, I got you 10 leads, I'm done, right? Easier said than that, but I think at the end of the day, money is where stuff kind of gets decided. I think that's where the sales team has the most pressure. Everybody else.
Have you ever worked with HR or compliance?
No, I don't want to.
That answers a lot of things.
I think HR is probably the most complex, most misunderstood, and requires a lot of nuance. I think, and also the most harder to solve problems from a tech perspective. It's more of a personal problem than I don't think there's any really tech solution which kind of solves their problems. So it's a very personal problem. I think it changes from one person to another person. Even within the companies, you need something different for each role. So it's much more nuanced. I don't think tech has cracked HR tech as much. Other areas of like marketing is almost you can say 90% tech has solved things. Sales, I would say around 50 to 70%. HR tech, I think we are not even scratching the surface. I think there's no tech tool which says you have cracked HR or recruitment.
I know we're trying to solve that purpose right now only for marketing.
Yeah.
And, it's like a couple of things like we still haven't been able to figure whether this person is going to join or how long this person is going to be in the company. So yeah, I hear you. Interesting. I mean, I just back in my days, when I was working, I think so the only people who I used to not like working is that who used to say, "Isme time kitna lagega? Like how much time is this going to take? Like it's so easy. Like that's it." I mean, when I get to hear that is the most difficult people that I have to work with. That that they're expecting something done yesterday.
Function, I think historically, that is because the pressure which people in the upper ladder push to the bottom. I mean, that is when you'll see that coming out, right? When can we get this? Because somebody's on your holding your neck to that, right? And that is why people are behave like that. And I think that is part and parcel of every function. I think it just changes the whole how badly they chase people.
All right. So moving on to the core context of the conversation today, with how the technology landscape is evolving, and this is probably you are probably the right person or the most best subject matter expert to actually answer this. With the evolution of the technology landscape, what do you think in terms of designing MarTech stacks in 2025, right? What is going to be the technological implication of that, right? In terms of architecting these stacks or designing these stacks, what are the things that need to be considered, or how it is going to be different from what it was there in the past?
I think personally, I don't think the core philosophy of how things work will change. What will change is how people are going to use the new age technology to kind of make your lives better and create a better output in a shorter time frame. That is what is going to drive the next year with a lot of innovative solutions in AI and Gen AI that are coming out. Every day you see a new product, right? I think you'll probably see a lot of people using those tools to create a better output in a shorter time frame with lesser resources.
All right. And in terms of technical changes, right? Like, what is it that you see or envision, broadly in terms of the adoption side of things in the MarTech stacks or the MarTech tools that already exist or the newer tools? Do you think, beyond Gen AI, there's going to be what are the advancements that you foresee in the future?
I think the next wave will be mostly Agentic AI, where I think almost all solutions you see on the market have some sort of AI feature enabled, and I think they're all, I would say, in the surface, they're all still Gen AI based. They're not truly practical or even outputting to the human extent. I think what you see in the next year or so will be a lot of agentic AIs built, where people will be able to automate, I would say, 60% of work using those frameworks, right? You can use now. I think you have AI SDRs and you have AI BDRs and whatnot. I think what you see is a lot of human output will be replaced with AI output, and you will probably only need more smarter team members who can then augment on top of that. I don't think we are at a stage where AI can completely replace humans, but a lot of stuff like writing emails, right? If you think of just plain output, you used to write every single email, every single word you have to type in before, and then came autosuggest, and then came Grammarly, which could fix your grammar errors. So now we have at a stage that if you give them a prompt, it will generate, say, a sequence of 10 emails, for example, right? And that typically you should take about, you just writing time, if you consider, it will take a few hours, and thinking time is different level altogether. But now you have something which typically would take, say, 10 to 12 hours in about 5 minutes, and then you would kind of spend your next 3 hours to kind of fine tune that, to add the human element to it, and then what typically used to take about 2 to 3 working days can now be done in like 2-3 hours, and that will let smaller teams achieve more than what they previously could.
All right, cool. That seems to be the idea, that leaner, more smarter teams, right? So, Niranjan, in context of let's say like a typical consumer tech business, like that operates. Any kind of e-commerce, D2C. I'm including all of those, but any kind of, since you come from an ed tech background, I wanted to focus this conversation or the stack designs around consumer tech or consumer services. So in terms of, let's say, somebody planning to build out their MarTech stack in 2025 or looking to augment their tech stacks in 2025, and I'm talking purely from a MarTech point of view, what would be your recommendations in terms of category of tools that need to be incorporated in this stack going further, whether, like I said, whether it is a new design or an augmentation of a current one?
I think if you just purely look at an online business, the first thing you need is a website, right? And there are tools which can like generate website just from an image, right, or an idea of how the image will look like. You'll get pretty much like boilerplate designs, and then if you punch in a few text, it'll generate the whole website for you. Right? That I think would be the kind of most simplest adding on to the team's stack. And the usual culprits are Figma and Webflow, and if you're an e-commerce site, Shopify is a no-brainer to start the website, and that kind of sets the ball rolling. And then you have the marketing aspects of it, right? It could be blog generation, it could be video generation, it could be meme generation. There's a tool for everything right now in the market. There's something called supermeme.ai which can generate memes for marketing, and there are tools like HeyGen which can generate videos. Right, you just have to give the content to it. You can decide the brand language. You can decide the brand persona. There are tools which can even create an AI avatar of you, which means they will look like, say, Rohan can be now made an AI avatar of, and then Rohan will talk instead of Rohan being physically present and talking, right? I think video editing cost has gone down tremendously. I think you'll probably still need some video editing experience, but I think 90% of the job will be done by tools, and 10% of time will be required by human to kind of make it right. Outside of that, I think you will probably look at SEO tools. There are again a lot of AI-based SEO tools which kind of either fixes your site or gives you suggestions on what you should write about. So that takes care of the SEO aspect. You can use tools like Ahrefs and SEM as the usual culprits. I think you'll also find the newer players in the market who are more AI first. I think those are the tools which will let you scale things very rapidly. And then I think then comes the next stage where you want to communicate with the customer. That is where you'll use tools like WebEngage or a CleverTap. I think they are usually the same names, but they all have AI features inbuilt in, or they will be building AI first features in the next year or so. I think that stays the same, and I think that's all I can think of from a consumer standpoint. From a sales calling perspective, it's a very, very long shot. If you have a calling type business where you want people to be spoken to and sold, there is a possibility that in the next year or so you will have AI video or an audio calling agent available, which can at least handle say 80% of your volumes and can do actually trigger sales.
All right.
And I think
anything on the analytics and automation, those aspects like that, while Gen AI is actually a lot on the content side, basically the generation side of it, like from an SEO point of view. I know we've ourselves incorporated or trained people on the SEO talent that we have nurtured. We've actually fast track them on using Gen AI tools in terms of being able to generate the content, right? But there's again impact of it that Google has come up with AI overviews, so a lot of variables moving. So I think so the content generation part of it, like Gen AI is quite robust in that, and we've seen the implications of that in design also, like the website design that you were talking about. We've been using that also. But what about the other aspects of it, like the analytics, the retention side of things, like on the also the automation, like automation of key processes, because marketing is always a lot of heavy lifting, right? And one of the most important tools that I started my career into MarTech was basically because of the need or desire for automation, right? That is how I actually got into it and then embraced it wholeheartedly. So what about those aspects of marketing operations or MarTech stacks?
I think analytics, I personally haven't seen anything groundbreaking yet, but there's a lot of potential there. I think given the computing power of LLMs and Gen AI tools, it is possible for you to throw unstructured data to derive insights from it, which a human naked eye will likely miss. Right? I have not seen any tool which does it really, really well, but almost all tools are implementing or in this implementation of AI capabilities to read reports or generate insights from data which you provide. I think Google Analytics has it, but I think GA4 has been the bane of marketers' existence for the last year or so. I think I haven't had a single marketer praising GA4 or any of that features, but it is not that bad, but it is just that it's not a finished product yet. But I think the hopes are that it will become a better product in the next year or so. They do provide a lot of AI-driven, chat-driven insights. They can ask questions on data which it has. I think you will see a lot of products in that space in the next year or so, where given enough data, I think it will be able to predict which visitors are converting more. It'll be able to answer all the questions basically.
All right. And anything on the automation, as in automation with when it comes to customer interaction, or being customer support? Because I know there's a lot of like, again, the another conversation is about creating AI agents from the servicing point of view. Making sure that on your so I mean, is there anything that you see on that side of thing? And the other one is probably which I mean, even before the advent of AI, we I think so. I've always heard of this time and again the term personalization or hyper personalization, which and I've always scratched my head how to go about, like, doing a lot of things around it, achieve something, but still, like, left wanting for answers on multiple occasions. So anything that you see there, like, on the communication, customer experience, personalization, hyper personalization, I know all of them are connected to a certain extent, but anything there that you see?
I think again in all areas we're still scratching the surface. We haven't seen anything groundbreaking in any of these areas yet. In service desk is one of the probably the most easiest to get disrupted, because you typically, I think, work with a small knowledge base which you already have on FAQs and whatnot, and it is fairly even easy to build in, say, 4 years from now. With the advent of AI, it just becomes seriously easier to kind of have a conversational chatbot which actually makes sense for a lot of your queries. And if you have a human in the loop kind of feature, you're kind of almost handling the same queries with a 90% bot and 10% human in the loop kind of experience, which can also kind of come back to the cost factor, right? You just have to have a smaller team to handle the same volume of queries, and over the period of time, it's only going to get better, because it's going to accrue all knowledge over the past conversations, and your knowledge base will improve, your FAQs will improve, and the more kind of data you feed into the system, I think it's going to only have a better experience for the end user, and it will reduce the cost dramatically over the next couple of years. On the hyper personalization part, I think there are a lot of interesting startups in this space, but I don't think anybody has really cracked it yet, just purely because it's challenging. I think it's a very enormous task at hand. If you look at B2B startups, the challenge is you don't have enough data to kind of even figure out how do you personalize, right? You just typically, in a normal B2B startup, a website gets 1,000 visitors a month, right? And if you do geographical division and just do a 5-level breakdown, you'll get a cohort with 100 people. And even in those 100 people, you will find that they're from different countries, different gender, and all that factors. Then you'll get a very niche cohort of 10 people. How do you kind of do for that 10 cohort of people, right? What's the right copy for them? I think given said all that, I think it's going to be eventually become easier, because you will have cohorts which are varied in nature. You probably may have like 1,000 cohorts of users, right? Before Gen AI, it was hard to even imagine you writing different headlines for 10 people. Now it is possible for you to generate 1,000 or even 10,000 copies based on your site kind of product, right? And that will kind of push the next level of percentage on the website, because now you can dynamically create a content on the fly, given 10 parameters and given your kind of goals or ICP, right? It is possible to kind of generate headlines dynamically. I haven't seen any product which does that yet, but that is bound to happen in the next couple of months, I would imagine.
Interesting. All right. I think so. I mean, on the analytics side, I do agree with you, because a lot of, my previous, in this series only, the conversations that have been, like, that probably the next advent or one of the good to have things, or that, that every marketer would love to have, is basically analytics in a presentable format, like where AI could actually build something which is presentable, not insightful. I mean, otherwise I call it death by dashboards.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
more than visual, I think there are some elements already happening in Mixpanel where, or amplitude even. So they have a kind of predictive path, and if and they keep checking. You may have a surge in certain kind of traffic, and I think the next evolution would be it telling you why this happened,
Right.
right? Oh, it really looks like you ran a Google Ads in this country. That is why you're seeing a surge in volume. As opposed to, like, previously, you would have to say, you have to go and tell someone, like, go find what happened.
Mm.
That person will have to go through 10 dashboards and figure out what happened.
Mhm.
Or it could be a tweet went viral,
Right.
and it could be a Reddit post which got viral, or you may have done a web series at that point of time, and at some point I think you will be able to answer saying why this happened and how this happened.
Sure. All right. So, in terms of these new technologies coming in, like I think so. One of the things that's going to come in is the flexibility aspect of it, and also once something works, build scaling it out. Right. There are going to be new skill requirements also on the basis of this. So, how do you think teams need to be structured, or how these challenges are to be fulfilled or suffice in the future? Like, is there a new paradigm of hiring that we are looking at, or something needs to be changed in fundamentally how you're shaping things?
I think if I'd be brutally honest, I think marketers were mostly seen as operators, and which meant that they were just operationally churning out copies, churning out creatives, going to different markets, running on different platforms, and stuff like that. I think they have to go to next level where they would have to understand the business better. I think the business understanding the strategic goals, understanding has to be the next big thing for anyone to succeed in life in a career in marketing. And the other area is, I think, the most underrated one. It is analytical skills, where even though your tool may tell you 10 different things, it is your gut feeling that eventually that human gut feeling comes into play, where you know that this is how it works, right?
Right.
And most, if you look at any top tier marketers, they look at the tools, but they make a gut decision that, because there are always certain gray areas, and that is what experience comes and say, okay, you know what, these three things combined and had this effect. And I don't think there's any AI tool which can tell you exactly that. It can tell you those three things happened, but those three things happening together in certain way is what did this end outcome. Is still a human touch required for that. I think that is a skill which most marketers have to kind of add on to the arsenal. And in general analytics, I think the other thing is you have to understand more of the journey which the consumers are taking, and understand what is happening, the psychological aspect of it, right? Why do people fill form when there are 4 fields more versus 8 fields? It's a known phenomena, but the copy, the whole psychological aspect has to be the more important aspect in coming years. So that part, I don't think AI cannot understand human emotions as much, right? Those are the kind of touch points which a marketer in the 2K25 would have to be to become a more successful marketer.
All right. I think so. We are close to time now. So, anything for the marketing community that you like to share, a message for them, any recommendations in terms of, like, not work related, like any books, any podcast, or any message in general to the marketing community for the next year?
I think people should join our Slack community. I think I'm sure you are running a wonderful community. There are more such communities, I think, operating globally. They are very wonderful spaces to learn and grow. I think I'm part of at least half a dozen communities across MarTech and Zavops space. I think they're all very welcoming and very inclusive in nature. I think people should join those communities. There are different perspective of what they are doing right and wrong. I think helps a lot to hear other people say same problems you are facing, and people solving it for them also comes in handy. I think I am part of a community called S11S. It's called, I think, Startup Saturdays, the shortened form for that. It's a 4,000 people strong community which has all the B2B SaaS marketers in India. It's a good place to come. I think please come hang out.
All right, cool. Thank you, Niranjan. Thank you for that. It was lovely having you on this podcast. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and like I said, I definitely wanted to have a perspective of a pure technologist this time around, and you certainly have lent that diversity to our podcast. Once again, thank you for your time, and thank you for your wonderful insights. And maybe we'll bump into some other community somewhere, because I think so we are already part of.
Yeah.
We do share a couple of communities probably between ourselves, so probably we'll bump into each other once again, and probably somewhere in Bangalore also we'll bump into each other. We do have plans to meet in office once though. Let's say stars may align someday for that.
Yes, thank you again for having me, Rohan. It was very wonderful talking to you.
Same here, and I wish you and your family a happy new year, because as you know, we are preparing for 2025, so wishing you and your family a happy new year.
Also, probably wish a happy new year for all the audience who's going to listen to this.
All right. Thank you. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.